Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to exorcise the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, as the moonlight lights up the sky, we see Mabel reminiscing about her mysterious brother, only to stand guard as Saikyou appears. Wanting to just talk, Saikyou mentions how he has noticed how uncomfortable Mabel gets, wielding daggers, and that she probably prefers a larger object. Wondering how he knows, Saikyou utters that he is quite sad tonight, as he doesn't like how there are two moons in the sky, as a single one would be more of an elegant scene. Realizing Saikyou is quite weird, Mabel asks why Saikyou is here, if he doesn't want to fight. Reiterating that he simply wants to talk, Saikyou says he knows Mabel doesn't truly want to kill him, leading Mabel to reveal that she simply wanted Saikyou to forfeit, even willing to take off some of Saikyou's limbs, assuming he would be able to heal himself. But she knows she is stronger, but doesn't want to have to go all out. Not satisfied, Saikyou reveals that he knows Mabel is pretending to be the hero, to protect Onmyouji, but still wonders why she joined the tournament. Reluctant, she states that her whole purpose is to fight in the tournament, only to die in the hands of Kyle, to fake the death of the hero, to the demons. Apparently, both Mabel and Kyle were orphans trained to become valuable mercenaries. The whole purpose of Kyle being in the tournament is to see if Kyle has been properly brainwashed, as he has undergone some experimentation, which intends to strip Kyle of his emotions, leaving him with the ability to only follow orders. As his graduation mission, he must kill Mabel. Adding that she wants to duel Kyle, because she wants to avenge her brother, who Kyle slayed, but Saikyou cuts her off, as he knows Kyle is her brother. Sitting next to Saikyou, Mabel realizes that she'll be disposed of for not completing her missions, but if it's the last thing she does, she at least wants to put her own brother to rest. Seeing the full picture, Saikyou decides that he will fight Mabel's brother, but Mabel states that only she can stand up to him, leading Saikyou to state that he is the absolute strongest. Seeing Saikyou not back down, Mabel can't help but respect him, stating that she will fight him tomorrow with her full strength. With the next day arriving, we see Mabel has brought her real weapon, a much larger cleave, which impresses Saikyou. As the match begins, Mabel disappears, bringing her axe onto Saikyou from behind. Having missed, she makes use of the rubble to close the distance, but once again, Saikyou evades with his talismans. Attempting to bind Mabel with vines, Saikyou notes how easily she is moving, giving Saikyou an idea. Placing a talisman on Mabel's axe changes the weight of her axe, forcing her to relinquish it. Next, Saikyou binds Mabel, using mercury, which ensures she can't escape. Seeing Mabel completely helpless, the judges decide to end the duel, in favor of Saikyou, meaning he'll be the one to face Kyle. With tension in the stadium rising, Saikyou chats with Kyle, seeing if Kyle has a change of heart, about wanting to slaughter his own sister. But Kyle seems unfazed, as all he cares about is fulfilling his commands. With the match beginning, Kyle attempts to hypnotize Saikyou, but Saikyou casts a red smoke cloud, blocking Kyle and the audience's vision. Tossing several spells at Kyle, Saikyou is unable to do any damage, attempting to bind Kyle, but he simply retaliates with his dark magic. Bored of Kyle, Saikyou unleashes Uchioni, a minotaur that towers over Kyle, offering the kid a chance to surrender. But since Kyle feels no emotions, he strikes Uchioni, but as Kyle lays there unconscious, Saikyou notices Kyle being infected by a curse, putting up a barrier to cut off the curse's connection. Checking up on Kyle, Saikyou listens to Kyle's last words, which enrages Saikyou, as some other cures user is toying with his friends. Unveiling his countless talismans, Saikyou begins chanting a powerful spell, intended to revive Kyle, but Yuki cries for Saikyou to not reveal his true power. Bringing up how Saikyou passed in his past life, Yuki is able to knock some sense into him, forcing Saikyou to stop the spell. As the tournament ends, Saikyou hides Kyle's body, as he's crowned the champion, all whilst denying to join the royal guards. Having preserved Kyle's body, Saikyou is able to show Mabel the place where he buried Kyle, as he now knows Mabel is actually her true name. As a parting message, Saikyou relays a message from before Kyle passed, which forces Mabel to break down, as she's finally able to accept her brother's death. Wondering where she'll go, Mabel learns that Saikyou intends to have her continue as a student, and that he will make it happen. Rejoining Onmyouji and Yifa, Onmyouji suddenly challenges Mabel, wanting a rematch, but this time with real swords, and the loser is the one that has their sword broken. With Saikyou signaling to start, Onmyouji shows off her new skill, enchanting her blade with gravity, magic shocking Mabel. Knowing about Mabel's past, Onmyouji reveals that she knows Mabel still cares about her brother, and that she could sometimes rely on others, hoping to grow closer to the shy Mabel. As the gang head back to school, Saikyou privately chats to the principal, revealing that he knows that the principal had bought Mabel, and had intentionally planned to have Saikyou go and win the whole tournament. Having seen Mabel at her worst, the principal can't help but wonder why such a talented girl had to have such an... Realizing that the principal is far more observant, having noticed Saikyou's endless power, she had purposely chosen Saikyou as the central piece of the plan. Additionally, the principal promises to keep Mabel safe, as long as she chooses to stay at the school, which pleases Saikyou. Back with the gang, Saikyou is seen admiring Mabel's natural white hair, as he stops Mabel from running off and avoiding her studies. With summer break starting, the gang discuss plans, only for Saikyou to reveal how he's tasked with investigating a dragon in the kingdom of Asteria. As his father had given Saikyou an interesting mission, Onmyouji asks if she could accompany him, but Saikyou rejects her, stating that she should visit her parents every chance she gets. Next, Mabel asks if she could join, but Saikyou reasons that it would be safest for Mabel to remain on school grounds. Realizing Yifa hasn't said a word, Saikyou asks if Yifa would like to accompany him, which Yifa blushingly accepts. Suddenly a man and a woman enter the room. Whilst the man makes note of the academy's old structure, he holds himself back from commenting further, as he locks eyes on Saikyou. Introducing himself as Cecilio, the crown prince of Asteria, Saikyou immediately graces his honor, apologizing for having the prince come all the way, but Cecilio reassures Saikyou it was no hassle, and that he wanted to see the school for himself. Spotting Yifa off to the side, Cecilio mistakes Yifa for a noble, having such feminine features, offering her to become one of his wives. But Yifa apologizes, as she can't do anything without her master's permission. Understanding, Cecilio offers to buy Yifa from Saikyou, but Cecilio's escort reasons it would be best to continue chatting elsewhere. Thanking Saikyou for taking on the investigation, Cecilio reveals that the dragons in Asteria had always been civil, but recently there has been some unrest, causing them to damage farmland and attack livestock. Wanting to know more about the history of Asteria, Saikyou learns that legend says that the first dragon was birthed by a human, and that Saikyou is free to investigate if he pleases. Before parting ways, Cecilio invites both Yifa and Saikyou to a meal, but his escort Lisa holds him back. Walking through the school, Saikyou is pulled aside by Mabel and Onmyouji, wanting to be caught up in his conversation with the prince. Reassuring the girls that he won't let the prince have Yifa, unless she herself wants to join the prince's harem, oblivious to how Yifa loves Saikyou. 2 days later, Saikyou and Yifa accompany the prince back to his kingdom, but Saikyou looks ill. But still grateful to the prince, as Saikyou gets to explore different regions with a reason, prompting Yifa to mention how the prince offered to have her ride with him, but Yifa denied, skeptical that royalty would want a slave riding with them. With several days passing, Saikyou and Yifa arrive at the capital, as they notice a greater dragon soar past them, inching ever so close. A summoner suddenly conjures a tiger, scarring the dragon, before it's able to do any more damage. But as the dragon flies off, the summon locks eyes with Yifa, pouncing on her, forcing Saikyou to step in. Restraining the summon, Saikyou prepares to finish the creature, but the summoner retracts the summon. Revealed to be Zekt, a mercenary Cecilio hired to slay the dragon, Saikyou asks for Cecilio to reconsider hiring people that could possibly scare the dragon off to other regions. But Zekt butts in, stating that he'll be able to slay the creature, but Saikyou states that he wasn't able to keep the creature under control, warning Zekt that if the creature was ever summoned around Saikyou, he will put it down himself. Before their argument could escalate further, Cecilio breaks them up, chatting to Saikyou privately. Wanting to know if the queen of the kingdom knows about Cecilio wanting to slay a dragon, a symbol of the country, the prince reveals that no one knows, but it looks like there is no choice. Before Saikyou can add, he holds back, knowing that he had overstepped, turning to Yifa. Questioning why Yifa didn't defend herself, she reminds Yifa how important it is to stay calm, as someday seeing Yifa being scolded, the prince attempts to pity her, but Saikyou presses on, knowing that it's normal to freeze up, but a push in the right direction is better than nothing. Apparently in his old life, Saikyou had witnessed his friend devoured by his dragon summon, which had allowed him to muster up the courage to tame such a powerful creature. Heading to a library, Yifa apologizes for not being able to help read, learning Saikyou had picked up the Olden language when he was younger. Reading the books, Saikyou reads that a mysterious human had summoned a male long ago, but there were no signs that the dragon was ever compliant with humans. Next, the male dragon met in Asteria, where it mated with a female dragon, giving birth to some offspring. Since dragons need a way to replenish their magic, they've been feeding on livestock, but apparently not too long after giving birth, the female dragon passed, leaving only the male and its offspring. Noting something suspicious, Saikyou reasons it would be best to check out these dragons personally, but Yifa wonders if Saikyou is able to take on a dragon. Agreeing with the danger, Saikyou states that Yifa will stay behind. That night, Yif knocks on Saikyou's room, asking for advice, as the prince wants to see her in his room. Knowing the scummy prince is after Yifa's body, Saikyou says she can spend the night with him, if she's too scared to return to her room. Accepting the offer, Saikyou and Yifa lay in the same bed, facing away from each other, as Saikyou asked Yifa if she would like to stay and join the prince's harem. Shooting down the offer, Saikyou continues to ask about Yifa's feelings for the prince, which Yifa mistakes for Saikyou wanting to get rid of her. Apologizing for her shortcomings, Saikyou says that she should reconsider if she truly wants to be with him, or the prince. The next morning, Saikyou questions the prince on his reason for making advances on his slave, but the prince reveals that there is something about Yifa that draws him to her, and it's not just her looks. Disgusted, Saikyou reveals that he will be climbing the mountain to investigate the dragons, which the prince is reluctant to allow. Telling Saikyou to be safe, Yifa watches as Saikyou ventures towards the mountain, only to be called by Lisa to have a private chat. Wondering if Yifa is truly content with being Saikyou's slave her entire life, Lisa reveals that Yifa gives off an aura of her race, the elves, and that Yifa is a descendant of the elves herself. Questioning Saikyou's origins, Els gets Yifa to reveal that she doesn't know who Saikyou's mother is, and that she could be a demon, explaining his demonic aura. Afraid that Yifa may be harmed, Els offers Yifa to join Cecilio's harem. Back with Saikyou, we see he has been able to swiftly scale the mountain having used his centipede summon. Greeting a dragon, Saikyou is able to block the dragon's breath, prompting it to dive at Saikyou, which he dodges. Bringing out a summon, Kanaki Jiji, a little wood creature, lands on the dragon's head, letting out a horrendous cry, which forces the dragon onto the ground. Bringing out a net, Saikyou is able to successfully pin the dragon down, as it would have been too dangerous if the dragon was caught mid-air and injured itself. Heading to what the dragon was guarding, Saikyou reveals that the dragon is currently male, but it was originally female, having changed its sex, like fish adapting to the environment. Seeing the massive egg, Saikyou begins rotating the egg, as he begins to piece together the history of the town. Back with Yifa, we see her taken to a location housing the prince's harem, which is not what it seems. Revealed to be an academy, meant to educate and train girls, to help bring out their full potential, and possibly one day be a fitting wife for the prince. The current queen is a very intelligent and prestigious woman, therefore Cecilio is afraid that he himself would never be able to live up to her expectations, therefore killing a dragon to gain praise, and rushing to marry a talented woman is the prince's ultimate life goal. Els adds that Cecilio isn't a bad person, having helped raise him from birth. Cutting to Saikyou, we see him heating up the egg, as if he was the mother. Attempting to head back, the dragon latches onto him, refusing to let him leave, seeing Saikyou as a love interest. Meeting up with Cecilio, Yifa watches as the prince asks for a second opinion on Yifa's worth as a slave. Next, Cecilio asks a higher-up to ready the money and the paperwork to make the transaction official. Realizing that things are happening too fast, Yifa states that she wants Saikyou to have the final say, as he's her master, but Kaleo presses on. Using his royal status, the prince states that he'll simply force Saikyou to sell Yifa to him, selling her to him, stating that it's too dangerous for Yifa to be hanging around Saikyou. Refusing, Cecilio wonders why Yifa is okay with being a slave, but Yifa states that she may be a slave, but she is more free than anyone, as long as she's with Saikyou. Just then, Cecilio's higher-up reasons it would be best to force her to join the harem, as they believe it would be best for her. Agreeing, the prince orders for his men to seize her, but Yifa begins to cast a spell, forcing Lisa to step in and nullify it. Wanting to use Yifa's finger to sign a contract, Saikyou suddenly appears, riding his new dragon friend. With everyone too stunned to move, Saikyou says he needs help, warming up the dragon's egg, asking for Yifa to join him. Gleefully running to Saikyou's side, Lisa attempts to stop her, but Yifa utters that she loves Saikyou. Soaring through the sky, Yifa thanks Saikyou for what he did, but Saikyou doesn't know what she's talking about. Arriving back at the egg, Saikyou shows Yifa the egg, but before they are able to do anything, they are attacked by a tiger summon. Halting the creature's attacks, Saikyou calls for the summoner to come out, realizing that the mercenaries were always after the dragon's valuable egg. Having tricked the prince into hiring them, the mercenary has but in that split second, a huge blast of water sends the lion flying, as Yifa is seen making use of her ring, stating that she'll stand up for herself. Annoyed, the summoner has the lion attack once again, demanding that his men also follow after it, but Saikyou channels his white, incinerating the lion's existence. Having promised to destroy the mercenary's summon, Zect wonders who Saikyou is, but Saikyou responds that he is the stronger sorcerer, causing Zect to try to attack. Sadly, the dragon is able to scare away the mercenaries, but Saikyou traps them, as Yifa burns Zect's summoning book. Impressed with Yifa's thinking, Saikyou pats Yifa on the head as a reward. Reporting to Cecilio on the traitorous mercenaries, the prince is saddened, but decides to lock the men up for now. Next, Saikyou states that the stories of a human giving birth to a dragon was true, as dragons used to protect the kingdom, and in return humans would help them hatch their eggs. Asking if the prince could announce this to the citizens, the prince refuses as this is not enough evidence. Instead, he wants Saikyou to slay the dragon for him. Refusing, the prince is forced to lock up Saikyou, which Saikyou notes he should probably play along as the politics may get messy if he reveals his true powers. But when the prince offers to have Yifa become a citizen of Asteria, Saikyou can't hold back anymore, stating that the prince doesn't want to do anything, only having others do it for him, only for him to take all the credit. Additionally, seeing him make advances on Yifa, Saikyou calls the prince a child, only to realize he may have overstepped. Seeing that things are a mess, Lisa intervenes, asking for what Yifa truly feels. Stating that she wants to be with Saikyou, Cecilio has no choice but to give up on Yifa. Turning to Saikyou, Lisa apologizes for the trouble, asking to teasing Yifa for liking Saikyou. Lisa gifts Yifa some light elementals, to help her heal people, adding that Yifa reminds her of a powerful elf, who fell in love with the Demon King. Riding back to school, Yifa tells Saikyou about her elven heritage, impressing Saikyou as she wonders the type of person Yifa is interested in. Trying to list off Saikyou's features, Yifa is unable to reveal her true feelings for him. Elsewhere, a swordsman, an ogre, a psychic, a summoner and a minotaur all interrogate a human, even slaying a powerful creature to get to him. The swordsman states that he'll see to it that he slays the hero, even if it costs him his own life. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and